It's 12 o'clock and I'm going to get started. You're welcome to leave your camera on or off, whatever is good for you. If you want to ask a question, please just stop me at any time and I'd be happy to answer any questions or have a discussion. That's all great. That's what this is all about, to be interactive. So if you haven't met me before, my name is Laura Zervis and I'm a registered dietitian and I'm a licensed nutritionist, and I have a private practice where I counsel my clients. I would say 50% of my clients are there for weight management. The other 50% are there to manage chronic disease. Diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cancer, rheumatoid arthritis, gout. I mean, you name it. Nutrition affects all of the systems that we have. So it's very important that we have good nutrition. Today, I'm really excited to talk about this topic. It is omega-3 fatty acids. They're very underrated. They don't get the hype that so many other compounds get, for lack of a better word. You always hear about, oh, keep your carb down, keep this down, eat fruits and vegetables, but then we get to the other level where we're talking about the actual fatty acids. They are so important. The fish oil, those fatty acids, they're EPA, DHA, and LAA. Very difficult to pronounce, so we're just going to refer to their initials. Everybody knows them by those names. But anyhow, they are essential, which means that our body cannot produce sufficient amounts of them. So we need to make sure that we get them from other sources. They say exogenous sources, which means sources outside of the body, food, supplements, etc. There's a very loose recommendation on omega-3 fatty acids. It's as low as 250 to 500 milligrams a day. Clients that I see in my office that have inflammatory issues, we usually recommend a minimum of 1,000 milligrams a day. And not to say that that's all absorbed. You could take it if you're taking a supplement in the morning, like a fish oil supplement. You might not be absorbing as much. It depends on the fat intake at that meal. If you fish oil has a greater bioavailability, which means more of it has a chance to be absorbed when you're eating a higher fat meal. So maybe taking it at breakfast, if you're doing something, if you're having a very lean meal at that time, it might be better to put that at a time, maybe at dinner time, where you're having a little bit more fat in your meal. It just depends, whatever your intake is like. So anyhow, like we said, it's so important because our body cannot make it, and we have to get it from outside sources. There are so many benefits to the omega-3 fatty acids. DHA, so important in eye health and age-related macular degeneration. It goes a long way in improving our vision. EPA is the one that's related to our brain health, and that is for things as so much as preventing early dementia and Alzheimer's, to helping with ADD, AHD. Also, during pregnancy, very good for brain health at that time for the mother and the child. Just so good in so many ways. And it's something that's so easy to get side benefits. It's also really good if you ever heard of people that have any type of inflammatory disease, like rheumatoid arthritis, gout, Crohn's, psoriasis, lupus, all those things that could that is aggravated by inflammation. Fish oil can really help with that. I've seen it in my practice many times. Patients with rheumatoid arthritis that had their hands and knuckles very swollen, that they had greatly reduced their inflammation in that area when they combined fish oil with a low inflammation diet, decreasing sugar, decreasing caffeine, those types of things. So can't say that enough. And for a cardiovascular system, fish oil is huge. It could help reduce your triglycerides, reduce cholesterol, decrease your blood pressure, help prevent blood clots, and, again, reduce inflammation in that area. And as far as cancer goes, people that have a high intake of the omega-3 fatty acids could have up to a 55% lower colon cancer risk. So that's really compelling evidence that it's just a good reason all the way around to take the omega, to either eat it as much as you can, that's what I'm going to show you today. And if you can't, you could take a supplement. we could talk about the food sources today. The food sources are the really good ones. I'll show you are salmon. I have my salmon right here. Tuna. Even canned tuna is also a very good source. It doesn't always have to be fresh. Use also a good substitute. Mackerel is very good. Herring is very good. And those are the animal sources. And as far as those, the animal sources are the ones that are high in EPA and DHA. Those have the greatest health benefits. ALA is also a great essential fatty acid, and that comes from the plant sources of the omega-3s, which are walnuts, chia seeds, hemp seeds, flax seeds, and even soybeans. Those have the greatest concentrations of ALA, and we're going to get into, you're not going to believe the amount of the essential of the omega-3s that are in some of these plant products. Again, even though the animal products, the ones that come from fish have a greater effect on our brain and overall inflammation, the other ones are still excellent. And the other sources, Brussels sprouts and kale do contain a small amount, even spinach, and even to a lesser degree, some wild rice does contain the omega-3s as well. And you see a higher intake of the omega-6s, and those are associated with the processed foods that, it's usually the typical American diet can sometimes be higher in omega-6 versus 3s, but we really want to get those 3s up higher. So let's talk some more about that today, and I'm excited to tell you what I'm going to be making. Oh, and I also forgot to mention too, egg yolks can also be a good source of omega-3s, but that is only depends on what the farmer fed them. If the farmer's feeding them the flaxseed and all those things that we just mentioned before, fish oil, chia seeds, algae, even some canola oil, those would help to increase the omega-3s. So, but you would see that on the label of those eggs. It would say a good source of omega-3s because it was one of those ones that have been enriched. So that's good to know. If you don't like fish, or you're allergic to fish, well, let's back up. If you don't like fish and you can't eat enough of it, you could always take a supplement. This is one that I recommend. There's many out there. They're all excellent. If you look at one, you always want to make sure, I like to make sure that they are non-GMO. I like to make sure that they have that good manufacturing process label on them. That means that they've been monitored every step of the way in the processing. And you also want to look for a supplement that has roughly or you could take more, that has roughly 1,000 milligrams of EPA and DHA combined. So that's very important. I have some clients, and I'm going to show you one of these. I have many clients that don't like to take these because they're pretty big, they're large, and you may be going through time. Go ahead.
Or you said 1,000 milligrams of what?
Of combined DHA and EPA. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Sure, Patricia. If you are unable to swallow such a large tablet, this does come in a liquid form. And the liquid form that I'm aware of, it is very, it has a little bit of a lemony taste. It doesn't have a fishy taste at all. I have clients that put it in their tea in the morning, and it's a really good way to get that in. So let me put those allergic. There's some evidence that people that are allergic to just regular fish can take it, but people that are allergic to shellfish should not take it. I recommend to any of my clients that have a fish allergy not to take it. There are some vegan sources. Again, they will have the ALA in versus the EPA and the DHA, but there's other sources that you could use as well. So it's not worth risking any type of allergic reaction.
And is it correct? I might have missed you saying that.
Tricia, do you have something?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I could hear you fine.
Yeah, I know my cholesterol has been a little bit high the last couple of times it's been checked. Doesn't omega-3 help with cholesterol?
Yes, it does. Yes. Cholesterol, triglycerides, and it raises, it's supposed to, I believe, along with exercise, increase the good cholesterol. So yeah, it's an excellent addition to your diet. So today we're going to make a couple of things. We are going to make a tuna with a little bit of a rub on it, and we're going to put that in the oven. We're going to make a salmon in parchment paper, which is really nice, and I can't wait to show you how we do that. And a walnut pesto. So pesto usually has the pine nuts in it, but when I tell you how much omega-3 fatty acids are in walnuts, you'll probably want to do this again or try it yourself. And the last thing we're going to make, which sometimes we don't always have time for this, is a dessert, and it's chia seed pudding. And another really fantastic source of omega-3 fatty acids. So let's get started. I've gone ahead, let's do our tuna first, because that's going to go in the oven, and I will show you as best I can. If you need a better view, just let me know. And the tuna is going to be very basic. We're not going to do much with it. I made and I'm going to have all of these recipes on my website by the end of the week. It just takes a little bit of time to get those posted, but my spice blend is coriander, paprika, chili powder, cumin, and I believe that is it, and garlic. And that makes a nice little spicy rub, and we just combine that all together. And I'm just going to take a tuna steak and just put it on both sides. I'm not adding any additional oil or anything at this time. I'm just coating it. And I'm going to, if you ever if you know me, you know I like to use foil pans for when I cook my fish. It's just a real, it's just a conductor of heat when you're doing fish. I just love it, and it helps the fish cook properly. And I usually state, which I did not today, whenever we're cooking our fish, remember, we always want to make sure that it has been blotted dry. If it has any excess moisture in it, it's going to make a soggy product. It's going to be very, did you ever cook fish and it's mushy? It might have been that it had just too much liquid. So you want to pat it with paper towels to get all that excess moisture so you get a nice firm product when you're done. And then we always season salt and pepper in our spice blend. I did not add salt and pepper. We could do that at the end. I think our spice blend is really going to add a lot. And I'm just going to drizzle a little olive oil. I'm just going to drizzle a tiny bit of olive oil over this. And that's it. And we're going to stick it in our preheated 350 oven. And we're going to let that go. Okay. So let me just rinse off my hand. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to make our pesto. And the rule of thumb for fish is usually 10 minutes per inch. So we'll keep an eye on that. But usually I like to turn it halfway. I don't like to keep turning back and forth. I usually only turn my product once. Same if I were doing it on a grill, let it get some nice grill marks, not too high of heat, and then 5 minutes on the other side, depending. That was a good inch. So we'll see how that works. And if it flakes and it flakes easily and opaque inside, you know that it's cooked. And you could also check the internal temperature. I usually want to bring it up to 140 just to make sure that you've killed any kind of pathogens. Even if you take it out at 135 and cover it tightly, it'll definitely come up to 140 before you eat it. So that's just something to keep in mind. So we'll do our pesto next. Let me see how far my food processor reaches, because I have a lot of light here. And what we're going to do typically, like I had mentioned, for the pesto, I have some basil that I picked this morning, and it's about, I'd say 5 cups of it, fresh basil. I wash it 3 times, make sure there's absolutely no dirt on it, because we do not cook the pesto sauce. So you don't want to introduce any foodborne pathogens that you might not have the opportunity to kill with heat or something like that. So I always, when I'm doing my lettuce or basil, I put it in a colander, rinse it 3 times to make sure that by the 3rd time, there's usually no dirt. If I still see dirt on the 3rd time, I'll rinse it 1 time. And lettuce, I'll put into a salad spinner to get it off. Basil is so delicate. It doesn't like to be wet, it doesn't like to be cold. You'll see that the leaves get brown very quickly. So you want to try to use it the same day that you get it. You can put it in a brown paper bag, sometimes in the refrigerator with maybe a paper towel to absorb any moisture. But even then, too long and it could get really dark on you really fast. So, and then the other ingredients, I have about 4 cloves of garlic. I only actually have 3 because they're so large. And I'm going to use a 1/2 cup of walnuts, a 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese, and probably about 1 cup of oil. I have more on standby. Sometimes you just never know how that consistency is going to work out. I like to have it on hand, but that's my basic recipe. So I always start with the garlic, put that in because that's longer, and I'm just going to pulse that. Off, and then I do my leaves next. And I did before we started today, I took off the really, really big stems, the thick stems. You don't want those. Little tiny stems are okay, like what you see here. You know, even sometimes if I see that, I leave that, but definitely nothing.
Are the stems bitter, or?
You just don't want to bite into one. And yeah, I think they can be a little bitter. Okay. But just the real thick ones. So we'll just give that a little pulse. You see, you have that big bowl of basil. It just cooks down. It just chops down to nothing. Nicely. So now I'm going to add our walnuts and our Parmesan cheese. And I'm going to pulse that together, and then I'm just going to drizzle in the olive oil. And I like to do it right now. I really like this consistency, so I'm probably going to stop there. Just get my spatula. Give it one more pulse after we get all the stuff off the side. That's a really, today's, that ratio really worked nicely today. And this is so good. See it here. It has that nice bright green color.
That looks awesome. How long can that stay in the fridge?
Okay, so that's a great question. If I'm making large batches, I will put this in a plastic container, and I might just sprinkle a little bit of lemon juice on the top from keeping that the very first layer from oxidizing and turning brown for you. But in the refrigerator, it lasts a good week at least. And that you might want to do that too. So whenever you put it in the refrigerator, just like you would do with guacamole, you want to make sure that you get your plastic wrap down on it so it's touching it so it doesn't oxidize and turn brown on you, and it'll stay nice like this. Or again, a little bit of lemon juice on top to make it acidic so that won't brown and oxidize. But this is, there's so many things. We could put this on our tuna today. We could put it on chicken. You could put it on focaccia. You could put, you know, you could spread it on any type of sandwich before you eat it. You could This is really good, really, with just some crostini dipped into it. It just has such a great taste. And again, you could adjust that garlic how you like it. But I think you'll be interested to taste the difference between this and the walnut version and the pine nut version, both good. And if you want to, you could experiment. You could try toasting the walnuts before you use them, just to give a little bit different taste if you want. But this is such a great thing. It's so easy, and it's just my favorite thing too is pasta. I make a lot for other people, you know, for a big party or something. I always want, can you make your pesto pasta? Because it's just so good. And so it's like such a nice side dish. It goes with everything. Let me just set this aside. And next we're going to make our salmon. And this is such a great item for entertaining too. And this is a great way, I think, too, for getting your children to eat salmon. It's just such a nice recipe. I've had it for quite a while. It always turns out good. There's never, and that's why I like it for when I'm entertaining, because it's never let me down. So what we're going to do is we're going to take parchment paper, and I'll show you I'll show you my workspace in a minute. I'm going to use asparagus. Some little red skin potatoes. These are actually from my garden. And I tried to get some uniform ones. And if you just have a big one, we'll just be cutting it in half. And some fresh dill. And of course, our parchment paper and our salmon. So let me just move my food processor over so I can show you my workspace while we do this. Okay. So I cut some parchment paper, and I'm going to say, oh, maybe 12 to 14 inches square, something like that. I mean, it's probably a square here. I've got a pretty decent triangle out of it. So let me show you here what we're going to do. And I just wanted to talk to you real briefly about salmon skin. So the skin does have, that's where there's a large concentration of the fatty acids. It depends where it was farmed, where it was raised, if it's wild, if it's not wild. It can contain, I mean, if you were to eat excessive amounts of it, it can contain some contaminants. It is okay to eat, so it's just something to be aware of. You could leave it on or you could leave it off. It's up to you, your personal preference. You could take it off, and when you take it off, you just hold the skin and you just slide your knife right under here, and it comes off real nice. So, and we're just going to cut some small pieces, probably about 3 to 4 ounces. And I think I'm going to leave this one go. I already have one cooking, so I could show it to you before, you know, so before class is done, because it does take a little bit of time. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our parchment paper and put our salmon in the middle, put it like this. And I'm going to take a few asparagus spears on the side. And I'm going to take a few, like I said, so I have a little rogue potato here. Just cut that one in half. And just put our little ones here. And this is so easy. So if you're entertained, I've made this for like a dinner party of 8 people, because it's just, you could make them. I just pour a little bit of olive oil over. And then I like to put a little bit of kosher salt, sprinkling of kosher salt, and some fresh cracked pepper. And then we're just going to take a piece of our dill. I'm just going to set it right down the middle of our salmon there. And then you take the corners, fold it over, fold it under, just like that. And then we're going to set it on our baking sheet, just like that. And I telling you, I want to say I've had probably 8 of them on here at one time at least, or maybe 6 and 6. But it's so nice when you're making them at a party, or if you're having friends over for dinner. It makes a beautiful presentation. Everybody likes it. You could, and if you don't have asparagus, you could always use green beans. anything like that. And I'm going to cut these potatoes. You want your potatoes, if they're all bigger, that's a little bit bigger is okay, but you kind of want them to be the same size so they cook at the same time. And again, we're going to do a little bit of olive oil drizzle over everything. Kosher salt. And crushed pepper. And a nice piece of dill. And you could go ahead if if you like dill on your potato, put that anywhere. Okay, again, we're gonna take the corners and we go like this, and like that. So, and I'm just gonna stick them in the oven I have a convection oven, so I like to do 350 convect, which my oven automatically lowers it to 325 convection. So if yours doesn't do that, cook it at 325 on convection, 350 in a regular oven. And it's about 45 minutes. So let me add that now real quickly. I'll check on our tuna, which looks pretty darn good. And I just So here's our tuna, and I'm just going to put a little cut in here to see how it looks. It's been 13 minutes. Yeah, just a tiny, tiny bit. In there, but it looks like it's doing really nicely in there. Okay, so the other thing that we're going to make today is the chia seed pudding. Over here, I get my chia seed pudding. So I have here chia seeds, a half cup of chia seeds. And I wanted to mention too, I forgot to tell you while we were making the tuna contains 1,414 milligrams of omega-3 fatty acids for 3-ounce serving. So that's really, really nice serving. The walnuts, which I wanted to tell you, just 7 walnuts, maybe a little bit more to make an ounce, just depends how big yours are, contain 2,500 milligrams of omega-3 fatty acids. So these are really great if you just want to have, and usually an ounce is about what fits in the palm of your hand. Or when you clutch your fist like that, when you clutch your hand closed. So that's a good way down, so it's a 1/4 cup. So that's a great snack. And you can see how this meal is going to turn out. Just imagine if you put the pesto with one of the fish. I mean, you're getting a real bonus there. So the chia seeds, this one
is that a water soluble? I guess it's not a vitamin. So like, if you eat excess of it, does it
no.
You or?
No, you would have to eat so much. I can't even imagine how you would have, it would be, you would get rid of what you couldn't use.
Okay.
Or you would store it as fat. Yeah. So,
should you limit it if it's storing as fat?
No, it's an excellent source of fat. As long as you're within because they're fat. So whenever you think about your diet and how much fat you want to have in your eating plan, maybe you want to have 30% of your calories come from fat. So whatever that, if you have, just look at it this way. If you have, so you have something like bacon, right? That's going to give you maybe 3 ounces of bacon. 3 slices of bacon would have around 15 to 20 grams of fat. A piece of salmon, a 3-ounce piece of salmon, I'm just throwing it ballparking, probably maybe 25 grams of fat. But look at so you're both within your plan for the day, correct? Your grams, maybe you you're allowed with a 30% diet, you're allowed to have 40 to 50 fat. So you're still okay on your grams of fat to the day. Let's pretend everything else was good for the day. But look at what you're getting from the source of salmon, the fatty acids from there versus the fatty acids and, you know, the just saturated fat that you're getting from bacon, and not this good quality fat that you would find in salmon and some of these other things. It doesn't contain those essential. Those are probably higher in the omega-6s. So yeah, just no, as long as you're within your 30% calories of, or, you know, if you're a little bit higher or on, you know, around 30% of their calories come from fat or less. And 10% of those should be 10% or less, 7 to 10% should be from sat fat. That's another one that and that's where bacon would come in too. It's very high in sat fat. So that would be something that you would want to limit. Yeah, you're not getting much out of that one. And the chia seeds, they contain 2,500 milligrams for just 1 tablespoon. So just an excellent source of omega-3 fatty acids. So is that clear on your fat intake and all of that?
Yes, I know you were saying that if you're taking it as a supplement, you need about 1,000 milligrams. If you're orally, like dietary, what's your goal? I missed that. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I didn't have one actually. There's like such a loose recommendation on it. We're just looking at good sources. Some say like if you were supplementing 200 to 500 milligrams a day, and then if you have anything, if you have any type of inflammation going on, you want it with 1,000. And that supplement, you don't have to supplement if you're eating, you know, these kind of things a couple of times a week. So is that clear? So for a day, I mean, as long as you're eating as long as you're eating fish a few times a week and you're including some of these other things in your diet, you just know that they're good sources and you're meeting your needs. Go ahead, Patricia. Oh.
No, that sounds great. That makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. All right. So what we're going to do with the chia seed pudding, where am I whisk? Oh, it's right here. Okay. We're going to just put some, I'll adjust the camera here so you can see. I'll remove the asparagus. So we're going to put our cocoa powder in. You could use carob powder too. I just happen to have cocoa today. And you want to just break up any clumps that you might have. So if it's really clumpy, you might want to sift it, but this one's pretty good. And we're going to add a little bit of, I'm using agave. You could use a little bit of maple syrup if you like. And I used about 2 tablespoons. My recipe calls for 4 tablespoons, but I just don't like it that super sweet. We're just going to mix this up together. At this time, you could also add cinnamon if you wanted. And we just need a little bit of vanilla, about a half teaspoon rather. So just mix that in, and then we're going to, it's time to add our milk. I'm just going to add a little bit so I don't have it all sloshing around and try to get it mixed in. And this is another thing like the pesto. Okay, so now that I've got it nice and smooth, pretty much, I'm going to add the rest of my milk. And this is 1.5 cups of milk. I'm going to hold on to a little bit here. Get that all mixed in real nicely. And then I'm going to add my chia seeds. So that's a 1/2 cup of chia seeds. But chia seeds are great. Like I said, a tablespoon having 2,500 milligrams. I often put maybe a teaspoon on my yogurt. And I don't know if you've ever had them, but they really just add like a little bit of texture. So they're kind of really nice product. It's did I want to say? Like almost like a poppy seed taste. You know, really.
Yeah, and doesn't it kind of, once it soaks up the liquid, almost get like, not boba, but all, like, I know it's much, much smaller than that, but they get kind of gelatiny, almost like tapioca.
Exactly, exactly. So you'll get that little bit of, I didn't hear the word that you first said, but it's like you said, almost like a jelly.
Yeah.
But that still has a tiny bit of crunch to it too. So
now, how does this compare to flaxseed? Because I've been adding flaxseed to my diet quite a bit. I haven't really done chia too much.
Yeah, flaxseed is also excellent. And that's one of the ones that I mentioned. If you have any problem with fish oil or supplements, yeah, flaxseed is excellent. It's very similar to the profile of the chia seed. In fact, I think the ground flaxseed powder, or if you get it in a tablet form, those are excellent sources of the omega-3s. Very similar, might even have a little bit more than the chia. So, and I'm just going to, this makes about 4, so I'm just going to use my little half-cup scoop and just pour it in here. And I like to just do little individual bowl, and you can leave it in one, you know, in something like this and stick it in the refrigerator. It needs a good, I would say, 4 hours. Overnight's easy because then you don't have to worry about it. And I'm going to show you one that I made earlier that I just let, you know, sit in the fridge. So you could, in this one, it's really not even coming out. So it has a nice little texture there. Really might have needed a little bit more milk in this one. And that's why I didn't want to put too much milk in this time, but it looked like it could handle it. They're also good, like you said, the flaxseed, if you make a protein shake or you make a smoothie, that's a good way to put them in. You don't, it's not like offensive in any way. It doesn't.
I actually have found with vanilla yogurt, I like when I put it in there with that and a little bit of granola, and it almost, I think because of the texture it gets, but also a little bit of flavor, it reminds me of like cookie dough. I love it. Really.
That's good. And you're getting something good, and it's a little bit of a treat too. I agree with you. Also, like, you know, like some of the, have you tried any of the adding avocado to any of those things? Like you're making an avocado pudding or adding avocado to your shake?
Haven't yet, and I love avocado. It's hard for me to think of it in a not savory way. You know, I'm in Texas. Guacamole is what comes to my mind, but I love doing banana, like I freeze bananas and do banana shakes quite a bit. But it would probably be healthier to add in some avocado to that too.
I was surprised too, because I'm like you, I like it on, you know, chicken or a salad or just eaten like that, or guacamole. And I put them in I was just making a protein smoothie, and I put it in, and it made it, my daughter's like, this tastes like it's from there's a store around that sells milkshakes. She goes, this tastes so thick and creamy. And it really is. It's really nice. I just love avocados. Let me get the fish out of the oven. No. Oh yeah. Tuna looks beautiful. Just move my cup and my whisk away. So that looks really nice, and it smells really good too. And again, we could have just left this. We could have just done salt and pepper and then put our pesto on it, or you could even put a little pesto on while it's cooking there. I would say maybe not the whole 10 minutes, but maybe halfway through. But this looks and smells really good. So let me just set this aside. And I also have a salmon ready too. So let's see how that turned out. And this is nice. So like I was saying, you know, having a dinner party or something, I just, you know, come around and I just put one on everybody's plate, and then you open it up. It's like a little present. So see, and this is something too, like, I don't know if this is why my kids like salmon, but I used to serve it to them like this too. And I just think they thought it was real fancy and a little treat and everything. You know, the asparagus nice and soft, the potatoes are a little crispy. And let me just cut open the salmon so we could see how that looks with 45 minutes. Oh yeah, it just flakes so nicely. It's just perfect. So I
actually recently had salmon for the first time. I've just catfish, even I just saute it. I don't fry it, but catfish is my favorite. I finally branched out to salmon and I loved it, but I struggle with maintaining a decent portion size. And I'm also a person in my house who eats fish. And so I struggle to even buy a decent portion size. So I'm looking at the Kroger near me. They sell some like individually sealed servings that are frozen. And I might do that because whenever I'm still having to stay quarantined. So when I do an order through like Walmart, I don't get to pick the size of the fish. And last time I got it, 2 pounds of it. And like,
oh my God,
like it's not possible as one person eating fish.
No, it's not. So how do you make your salmon?
Just sauteed in the pan and then finished in the oven. Olive oil. I did some dill with it, salt, pepper, Old Bay. No, I didn't do Old Bay on the salmon. I do that on the catfish.
Okay.
Honestly, like really simple. But I love fish. Like, unfortunately, I'm the only one who eats it, so I just don't cook that often. We're mostly a chicken household, I'd say, for our average meals. But I love shrimp, and I'm starting to branch out on my fish. I used to only really eat white fish before, but
oh wow,
I was always afraid that salmon was going to be too fishy, which I like fish. I don't know. It doesn't make sense, I know, but like tuna, that just does not appeal to me. That color necessarily, it's more of a meat looking fish, which I love. But I don't know. It just doesn't appeal to me in fish form.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. It does. I mean, it's funny too. Like you said, the color of it is just so, I don't want to say off-putting, but it's like, wow, that's fish. And
it looks so raw to me.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and sometimes a lot of restaurants make it raw and or prepare it raw. And there's some debate over that too. It's like, well, if it was deep frozen, it should have killed any pathogens and you don't have to bring it up to 140, but it's still, if you have, if you're immunocompromised in any way, you would definitely not want to take that chance to get a pathogen like that. So I always recommend at least 135 and covering it till you get up, it'll probably come up to 140 on its own. So it doesn't, not 140 to 150 degrees, internal temperature. But I think, do you like swordfish?
I've never had it.
Yeah, that's a nice one with this rub on too. And again, that's another one that tastes like, quote unquote steak, you're having like a steak versus a fillet cut. And halibut's also very nice. And I don't eat too much mackerel or the other one or herring.
Yeah. I've never had either of those, honestly. Yeah. Like I grew up in the South, and so catfish is pretty common.
Yes.
I don't mind it fried, but I definitely prefer it just sauteed.
Right.
So that's just kind of how I.
What about grouper then?
Never had it.
Really? I thought that was a kind of a Southern thing too.
I've definitely heard of it and I know of it, but I haven't had it. Is that one pretty good in omega-3?
Right. I was just going to mention too, if you ever found yourself in that situation with the salmon again, even if you cook too much of it, maybe you cook 3/4 pound, you couldn't eat it all. You could always, I don't know if you like it cold the next day. It does heat up nicely, but you could also make a salmon patty out of it. I think I have a recipe on my website from the last time, because we were talking about just things that you have in your pantry that you could make.
Yeah, I actually love crab cakes.
And if you have,
I assume a salmon patty is the same concept.
Yes, yeah. It's very similar to like what you would put in a meatloaf, like onions, green pepper, and breadcrumbs and egg. And you just form it into like a little ball and then flatten it down like a hamburger. And you could either saute them in a pan or bake them in the oven. Really nice. And that's something I like to keep Costco has their Kirkland brand is a really nice price point. It's beautiful. Some canned salmons, there's other brands that when you open up, there's a lot of skin and bones in the can. But Costco's is really nice. It's all meat and it's wild, which the price of wild salmon, that's what we really, really want to buy. It can be really sometimes cost prohibitive. So, yeah, but having it in the can for like a quick dinner sometime is really nice option. And that might be something that your family might be willing to try too. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I could get my son in on it, but not my husband. He's too set in his ways against fish. But I do cook seafood from time to time. Like I said, I love shrimp. I know that that's not the healthiest of seafoods, though, but it's better than steak for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the thing about shrimp, a lot of people have the concern, oh, there's cholesterol. Yes, but eating those cholesterol foods doesn't necessarily raise our cholesterol. It's the saturated fat that's found, like we were just talking about, in red meats and bacon and really high fat meats. And shrimp is extremely low in fat. It's a good source of protein, good source of iodine. So I think it's a really good addition to your diet, to your pattern. And you could really count it as a serving of, fish per, one of your servings of fish. Definitely better than the red meat category. So, and what else can I tell you today about the omega-3s? So we have our tuna, we have our salmon, pesto, and a little dessert. So a little bit of everything.
I'm definitely excited to try the pesto. I have an arrow garden that's been exploding in the basil, and I just can't keep up. We aren't eating enough of it. And so I have plenty of pesto to do that with. I just need to find some walnuts and I'll be good to go. I've been wanting to try that actually.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And like you said, I actually, I had some left over from a party. I froze the pasta just like that, and the freezer took it out like on a busy weeknight. And, just heated it up. Nobody really made. So that it freezes nicely. And then I freeze the whole, I'll freeze small containers of it because I'm like you, I have this, bumper crop of basil. So I just keep making pesto and freezing it in just small containers. So I have a nice for, whatever I'm making, that time. It defrosts real nicely. I usually take it out instead of trying to fight it for defrosting, I usually take it out, in the morning and, stick it in the refrigerator. And by the time I get home, it's usually nice and ready to go. But yeah, I think that's a really nice thing to have on hand. And what else? Yeah, the walnuts, I just keep mine in it. I just keep research jars and just put it in something like this. And they're really nice to have. And again, they're nice for a snack too. And, I've talked about the Mediterranean diet in the past and the recommendations, there's several levels there. If you think of it like a triangle, like the old food guide pyramid, there's a Mediterranean food guide period. It's nothing official, but it's just a graphic to help illustrate how, the very bottom of the pyramid is, eating with the people that you love and enjoy spending time with and making it a social event, not eating in your car, not eating at your desk, or, eating while having your family sit down and you're still cleaning dishes or doing something and eating at that time. So that first part is eating with the people we love and enjoying our meals. And the second part is having things like the whole grains and fruits and vegetables. And that's then as we move up, it's having that fish 2 to 3 times a week, and also a serving of nuts 2 to 3 times per week too. So all think about the Mediterranean diet and why it is so good, why they do report that lower incidence of heart disease and some other chronic diseases, which are mostly related to inflammation. We could see that some of that is, again, from these fatty acids that they're getting. And, they eat the dairy that they do eat is usually the fermented types, the cheeses and the yogurts. And then at the very top, which the things that we should have only occasionally, the red meat and processed foods. And of course, drinking lots of water. And also on that plan is, to enjoy a glass of wine if you drink wine or something like that, and to avoid hard alcohol. So yeah, that's pretty much,
awesome.
Yeah.
You've mentioned a couple times you have the recipes on your site. What is your site?
It's laurazervis.com.
Okay.
Like my name, LAURAZERVOS.com. And I'll make sure it just takes some time to upload some of the images. So I'll try to have them up there by the end of the week. And if you need anything, and that's, I think my contact is in. My contact information is on there. If you ever have any question or something didn't turn out right, or you have another question, or you're looking at a supplement, just let me know. I'd be happy to help you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Patricia. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hear a little one there too.
I know, that's why I've been keeping myself muted. He is hardly quiet.
How old?
3.
Enjoy. That's such a great age.
It is. We're potty training right now, so it's been a little.
Wow. Well, they say summertime is a great time to do